Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trauma Center's Second Opinion Community Race featuring Thurler, Irish Jerker, Slurpee Ninja, with additional commentary by Thurler and Alta Biscuit. As a reminder, for GDQ subs, GDQ Hotfix is possible because of viewers like you. If you have Amazon Prime, you do receive a free sub per month with your subscription, and you can use it right here if you'd like to help support the stream. As a reminder as well, Frame Fatale happens July 24th in terms of the schedule. The schedule will be released tomorrow, July 24th, so please keep an eye on the Twitter for that. The GDQX games list will be July 28th, and the Cusa Grande Invitational Loser Semifinals will be tomorrow here on GDQ Hotfix at 8 p.m. Eastern. And without further ado, here we go with the Trauma Center Community Race. Take it away, Alta Biscuit.
All right, welcome everybody. If you haven't seen this game before, well, you're in for a treat. It's going to be pretty frantic. So, without further ado, our runners ready? It looks like it. All right, so with that in mind, I guess we'll count us down here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and on commentary here with me is also one of the runners. It's Thurler.
Hello.
They're a very accomplished runner in the series at this point, and one of the madmen that is willing to do max rank runs of this game.
Yeah, we're not going to see that today, though. We're going to just breeze through the story mode on hard difficulty.
Anyway, chapter 1 is kind of the tutorial chapter of sorts. Gets you introduced to the game and all the mechanics. This first one is pretty much a hand-holding operation. They'll tell you how to do everything one at a time, and beginning with sutures. And so they got to do it in a zigzag formation, and it's kind of generous at times. And you'll see various forms of crazy sutures as we go here. There,
Yeah,
you'll also
suturing
see
in
them
this game.
using this green gel that's called antibiotic gel. It immediately cures small wounds. It also disinfects areas to place down a bandage, like all the runners just did there. And it also slightly raises the vitals. That'll be important for later chapters here. And that is the last time that we'll see them disinfect a, a cut before they close up the patient at the end here, because having a good hygiene there, it's a little slow.
Yeah, disinfecting takes about 2 seconds, so by skipping that, the game also accepts if you don't disinfect it, so we just go with it.
Yeah, we got places to be, so we gotta just fix what's ailing them and get them out the door. So the second operation here is dealing with a tumor. They walk you through it like in the first operation there. Use ultrasound, drain it, cut it open, and then patch it up. But you'll see in future operations you won't need to use the ultrasound for that.
Yeah, they're always in the same spot, so if you know where they are, you can just slash them open.
So you can see on a Slurpee's screen there, that he just bandaged up the patient without disinfecting it first. That's going to be the rest of the run there.
Ooh,
Okay, so the third operation is going to be more tumors. It's basically uh-oh.
we got some disk issues.
Hopefully Slurpee can recover here soon. We don't know how to do surgery on a disc. Um, so you can see on Iris and Thurler's screen that they're just cutting away at where the tumors are. Something to note with the patches that they're placing down. Sometimes the game will have special items that can be used on the side like that. Most of the time, it'll be patches, but it could also be a tray to place items down, whether it's tumors or later on bones or just various other things that can occur or throughout these operations. So the fourth episode here is essentially a cutscene. We can thankfully skip these just by going to episode select, and it counts as being done. Another thing you might have noticed is that the text is scrolling by very fast. Thankfully, by hitting minus, you'll see skip in the bottom right, and that just automatically scrolls through the text really quickly. And considering how rough this game can be on the hands, it's great that we don't have to add mashing on top of everything else that needs to be done. And just for people who may not be aware, there, this is being played on the Wii, so everybody's using a Wiimote pointing at the screen to do everything here. There's a very, very fast, rapid at actions here. So on this on Iris and Thorler's screen, you can see that they're zapping away small polyps. Once again, they're always in the same place, so they're just preparing in advance where they're going to be. Yeah, I'm seeing some comments about Persona in the chat. If this music sounds pretty familiar, it's because the people who do the Persona soundtrack had a hand in this game too. And that'll be very evident once we get to the final boss.
I'm pretty sure the character designer, or was it the artist, was also from the Persona series. So if the portraits look like they came from Persona, that's probably why. So 1-6
yeah.
is the first real challenge in the run.
Yeah, so this is the intestine operation, if I recall. This is where the hard difficulty can really start to assert itself here. Um, the number of tumors that are visible here, every tick they lower down the vitals, and tumors lower down the vitals a lot more in hard difficulty. So you're gonna see the runners use the stabilizer. That's the green goo that they're injecting into the patient that raises the vitals. On a lower difficulty, they may not have needed to do that, but on hard, you definitely need to. And you can see the vitals quickly lowering as well when they have all four of the tumors extracted there. And that's really the main difference between hard and the other difficulties is you take more damage and from open wounds. Stabilizer only does 10 vitals. I think it's the same in normal as well for that much. And then there's a few other differences that hard introduces that we'll get to as we get closer to those operations. Yes, I would not recommend and using this game to learn how to do surgery.
Okay.
In fact, when you beat this game and when you beat all the operations, you get a message at the end that says that this is, you're not a real doctor, et cetera, et cetera. But if you are actually a real doctor, don't tell your patients how many times it took you to beat a game about surgery. Anyway, on to the 1-8 for Iris and Thurler. This is introducing the defibrillator. They have to move the Wiimote and nunchuck towards the screen and then press the Z and B buttons to activate it. If they get a clean hit in the green section, then they will do it in one shot. Otherwise, they gotta do it a second time.
It's actually really tight. It's only 2 frames to hit the green one.
Is it really only 2 frames?
Yeah.
Dang.
It's very tight. There's a bunch of visual cues you can use because the gauge is consistent. But yeah, it's really tight.
So yeah, this is when Derek Stiles, the protagonist, discovers that he has a miraculous ability called the Healing Touch, which in gameplay terms just means he slows down time, but as far as the real world is concerned, he's just moving ridiculously fast. And so it's like he sutured that wound in just a flash. Which though the healing touch slows down the game and also delays everything else about that. So ideally the healing touch is used as few times as possible. At least Derek's. We'll get to the other. So
Yeah,
now we're
because
on.
it slows down the game. It also introduces lag because all the animations slow down as well. So the game has to process a bunch of stuff.
So we head off to the side here with the Z operations. Second Opinion introduces this other doctor named Naomi Weaver, and her role in the story is kind of happening at the same time, but just in separate areas. Their storylines eventually meet at the end. But I guess now would be a good time to mention that Naomi Weaver has the initials NWE, which is Nintendo Wii, and Derek Stiles has the initials DS for the Nintendo DS. That's because the original Second Opinion is a remake of Trauma Center Under the Knife, which is a DS game. As far as differences between the two games, they're fairly similar operation-wise. Like, there's a few mechanic differences. But the main thing that's different is the Z operations and Chapter 6 are exclusive to the Wii version, and Under the Knife on the DS has its own exclusive chapter as well. So now we're on to Chapter 2 here. And the runners are going to be I'm going to deal with these Thrombi here. They're going to try and stack them all on the same spot so they can extract them all in the same area, just like that. And the Healing Touch kicks off again automatically, and just for story reasons. Also want to point out on Slurpee's screen there that antibiotic gel has a lot of magic properties, one of which is apparently healing bones automatically. So moving on to the next operation for Iris and Thurler. Or if you can call it an operation.
Well, it is the hardest episode in the game, for one.
Yes, it is. So this is where the runners get to learn how to draw a star. And drawing a star is how you activate the Healing Touch. And the better you draw your star, the more Healing Touch time you get. And which is mostly going to be irrelevant, but there's one operation where it's kind of relevant. So yeah, there's kind of a joke within the community that drawing a star is impossible. Everybody has lost a run at some point because they just could not get a star to be registered, and there's a lot of different shapes that can be misconstrued as a star. We actually have a channel in the Discord dedicated to the various types of things that it can register. In this game, we've had like TPs or just scribbles, or even on Under the Knife 2 on the DS, butterflies, and spirals and various other shapes too.
What's the best one you've ever seen?
Oh, geez, I'd have. I don't even know.
Definitely
There's,
the TP for me.
yeah,
TP.
That's really weird.
that was the. That was a big panic. So we're on to aneurysms now. They have to inject this sedative to shrink the aneurysm down before they can extract it. In lower difficulties, they let the aneurysms burst. Or it's just because don't have time for
Hard as
that. And I
well.
think that's still the case here too.
Yeah, you just take a massive hit on vitals, so you need to make sure that you miss as little as possible so you have enough HP to tank the hit.
Yeah, this is the operation where they kind of throw a bunch of stuff at you, expecting that you'll use the healing touch to bail yourself out. So this is just the, you know, the gloves are coming off. But as it turns out, you can just let them
Yeah.
burst.
And in the story of the game, you actually collapse after the operation from exhaustion after using the healing touch, but we kind of just broke the story by not using it.
Now it's Slurpee's turn to draw stars. Those are some interesting looking stars. One of them I'm not even sure what it was. So, moving back over to the left side here, this is where they introduce deep gashes. You have to close the wound first with the forceps, drain the wound, and then suture it up. If you aren't fast enough, the wound will reopen and you'll just take massive amounts of vitals. And Iris, Iris missed a bandage there. You do take damage if you miss the bandage, and it's also another rite of passage for runners to accidentally kill the patient when placing down the bandage.
You just saved him, but you killed him with a bandage.
And now it's
So for tier 9 here, for tier 9 we're going to have the first guilt encounter. Guilt are just the nanomachine virus things the game throws at you.
Yeah, so this is where if the game hasn't gone full anime yet, I'd say this is the point where it does.
Yeah, this is the point of no return.
So this is the first guilt operation. There's 7 different forms. It'll be pretty obvious what it is in a moment here. This one is Kyriaki, and in a nutshell, it's basically biological warfare or terrorism, so to speak. I think, but that's later on in the story. Spoilers, sorry.
You spoiled it.
So what they need to do with Kyriaki is find the creature with the ultrasound, attack it with the scalpel to bring it out into the open, and then they can laser it down. And after you kill all the babies, the big one comes out, and it takes 3 hits to take that one down. And they don't really have a set pattern, but they tend to have predictable movements if you hit them a certain way.
Yeah, you can kind of tell where they are by looking at how the laceration showed up, but it's not really consistent, especially for the last one that always has the same laceration pattern. You pretty much have to guess where it is.
Yeah, story-wise, at the end of chapter 2 here, Derek got the attention of a organization called Caduceus, and they're the super doctors of the world, basically. They're here to take on all these really strange diseases or bioterrorism or just whatever else. Whenever there's nobody else in the world that can handle it, that's where they step in. And guilt definitely falls under that. But he's got one more operation as a regular doctor before he moves on, where they got to do heart surgery. Now, if they're fast enough here, they'll be able to get through this cycle here without having to use the defibrillator again. And using the healing touch can help with that a lot. Looks like Thurler's just...
Yeah.
Oh,
I always try to not go for the healing touch, but the hitboxes kind of trolled me, so kind of lost some time there.
Yeah, if you're quick enough, you can do it without the healing touch, but obviously, if you don't get it, then you lose a bit of time. So you can see that Iris took a little bit of a lead because of that. Man, is that what the Z2 name is in Japanese? Just magic?
Yeah.
Anime surgery, everybody.
If you're just tuning in, this is a summary of the game so far. Magic.
And it's only gonna get more magical.
Yeah.
Slurpee here on his first Kiriaki fight. Kiriaki is going to be the most common form of guilt. So onto Iris's screen, you can see that it's a new take on the tumors. They have these veins on the side, and you have to cut all 3 of them before you can extract it. But you have to extract them all at the same time, otherwise they will respawn. And they can really take out the vitals here. This is a time where you find out that Naomi also has the healing touch, but hers is a little bit different than Derek's. Instead of slowing down time, she heals people whenever she does any action that does an okay, cool, or good. So you can see the vitals raising on Iris's screen there whenever he does something. And story-wise, is what she's basically being a surgeon for hire, where she's keeping patients alive while they test out these diseases on these poor unfortunate souls, which you later find out is guilt. That she was unknowingly working for the terrorist organization. So yeah, Naomi's healing touch has a few other benefits. One, it doesn't lag the game as much as Derek's. Thanks, and yeah, it's just more useful in general for the most part, as long as you're not trying to make a cycle. Alright, we'll see if Slurpee here opts to use the healing touch to skip the cycle here. He's going for it. Looks like he just missed it. Nice little benefit of the defib, though, is that it raises the vitals some. And so he didn't need to use any extra stabilizer there. So Iris is back on to Chapter 2, or Chapter 3, rather. This is another Kiriaki operation. It's more or less the same as the first one, except there's a few more of them.
So how are some of these operations more difficult in hard mode versus normal mode? Do you want to go into that a bit?
Yeah, so essentially the difference in hard mode is you're going to take more damage from lacerations or blood pools or various other bad things that can happen. And so it oftentimes means you have to either play a little more carefully, or you might have to use a little bit of extra stabilizer here and there depending on what happens. This is all going to come to a head in the next operation, though. Now, where we get introduced to the second form of guild, and arguably the worst one. And it's Defibrillator. And Defibrillator has a reputation for being a mess of RNG. It creates a lot of blood pools, it creates tumors everywhere, and it's especially difficult on hard. Once it gets out of hand, it just becomes impossible to catch up. So Iris is entering that operation now.
The worst part, however, is that the movement for Defibrillator is completely random. So you have zero control, basically, of what's going on.
Yeah.
The game just decides for you and you need to react.
This is where the run really begins. So, on the first half of the Defibrillator operation, they just introduced the mechanic. There's going to be a red and blue, I guess we'll just call them fish. I don't know what else to call them. So, when a red and blue one combine, they start spinning, and that's when you can drain them. And they'll start dropping tumors here and there. You want to take care of those as soon as possible. Once you've drained the Defibrillator 3 times, you'll have a chance to excise them, but they'll start thrashing, and that does big damage to the vitals if left on, if you don't deal with it quickly. So now we're on to the second phase of Defibrillator. Now there's going to be 2 sets of them, 2 blue and 2 red, and this is where it gets really difficult. If 2 of the same color run into each other, they drop the vitals and just start making tumors. Worse yet, they can, while one of them is spinning, if another one runs into it, it will interrupt the spinning and you can't drain them. You can see that happen to Iris a little bit earlier. And that looks like a favorable pattern there so far, so they're both down to their last hit. Okay, you got away with it there.
I just want to say that I hate this. I hate this so much.
Alright, Iris got a pretty favorable Defibrillator there.
Look at this, man. What the hell?
Ooh. I see you got bumped there. Alright, this is where it can start getting out of hand. Once they just start bumping, it can really start lowering the vitals quickly. And, these runners are really good at the game, so you can see that they're handling it pretty easily, but your first time playing this operation on hard, I can guarantee you it's going to be overwhelming.
Even despite all that, Thurler got out of that, though, so well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and now we're going on to probably the most famous operation in this game. If you can call it an operation. It's time to disarm a bomb. You have, luckily, one of your coworkers conveniently had dated somebody who was on the bomb squad, so she knows a thing or two about disarming bombs.
With surgical tools.
Yes. So, much like other things in this game, all the puzzles are set patterns. But the third stage of the bomb here that Iris is entering is the hard part. So you need to zap all the panels on this core here, and you do not want to zap them while they are blinking red. And one difference here in hard is that they spend less time between cycles, so you need to be more careful. I think it's about every 4 blinks they swap over, and then on a lower difficulty, it's 1 additional one. If you hit a red tile, you don't lose, but you can only miss once. And hitting the core counts for that too. just waiting it out there. And Thurler mentioned before we started here that he has a feeling that the core likes to button read and turn it to red when it's about to hit. So Iris is now on the core. At this point, if you hit a red tile, you immediately blow up the bomb. So for safety, you'll see runners use the healing touch here because it moves really fast. Now, if you want to get max rank on this level, you cannot use the healing touch there. You have to just go for it. Slurpee is on Defibrillator here. Seems to be getting a favorable pattern, too. Ooh. Oh, no.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
It was... You can see how quickly the vitals drop there. You gotta... It's... That's just how brutal Defibrillator can be on this difficulty.
Yeah. And it also tempts you, because you see he went for, like, extracting both pairs at the same time. That's really, really rare, because the cycles never match up.
Yeah.
So it tempts you, and then bites you back.
I don't blame him going for it, though, since he had disc problems earlier.
Yeah.
I'd go for it, too, in that situation. No, I'd probably just go for it anyway.
Yeah.
So... This operation that Iris and Thurler are on, in the English version it's called Caduceus on a Plane, which was about the time that the movie Snakes on a Plane was out, but in the Japanese version I think it's Miracle at 30,000 feet. This is essentially an auto-scroller, so Sky, if you have anything that you need to pitch here, now would be a good time.
All right, that sounds good. As a reminder again, this stream is brought to you by viewers by you via GDQ subs for this channel. So GDQ Hotfix is possible because of subs for this channel. If you do have Amazon Prime, remember, you do have a free sub per month, so please consider using it here if you do have one. So on that note then, after the auto-scroller Alta, what's about to happen next? Are we going to see our next version of the virus or boss?
Yes, the next form of guilt is coming up, and it's if you've played this game before, you'll probably remember it as something that is very difficult to grasp at first. This is Trity, and it's essentially a giant puzzle, and also has green Doritos in it. And what most people did with this operation is that they just cheesed it with the healing touch, and it turns out that's a fast way to do it, so that's also what our runners are going to be doing here.
I've been told the blue things on the screen look like candles.
It's a Doritos cake.
Yes. Alright, Slurpee dispatching of Defibrillator there. Good work there.
Oh my god.
So, I don't remember exactly how the pattern with Trity works. Thurler, do you have a better explanation for it?
Yeah, so basically, if you have an adjacent pair of thorns, when you extract one of the Doritos, you create more Doritos based on which thorns were adjacent. Also, if you leave one of the thorns alone, Doritos will spawn around it whenever you extract one of the main brains. I realize that probably makes no sense because you need an image to kind of understand the pattern, but yeah.
So, in true Trauma Center fashion, whenever there is a cutscene involving a car, there's going to be a car crash. So, Naomi's gonna... They're in a tunnel here, so all they have is a pen light here for her vision. You don't need to see what you're doing to be able to do any of the actions, though it sure helps a little bit, especially in hard difficulty. And you can't see it on Iris's screen right now, but there's a couple of deep lacerations, like Kyriaki would leave behind. So those drain the vitals real fast. So he opted to use the healing touch to just keep the patient alive. And
yeah, on hard, it's pretty much mandatory to use the healing touch. You take a lot of damage per second.
Mm-hmm. Slurpee's turn to disarm the bomb here.
I couldn't see it. Did Iris use the flash at all? When the pen light goes out, you get the option to use the flash, but if you have the thing memorized, you can just use it in the dark.
Yeah. I actually didn't notice if that happened or not. It all went by too fast.
Yeah.
I tell you one thing, keeping up with one screen is hard enough, but keeping track of three runners here is a lot to do. So, Chapter 4 is kind of a break as far as the speedrun goes. They tend to be... These operations tend to be a little more chill. And that's a nice break between what Chapter 3 had you do with the stress of Defterra, disarming the bomb, and having to do Trity quickly. Basically what they're doing right now is they're doing field research on this new strain of guild called Tatardi, and they're just getting the 3 samples that they need. There's 5 different patients that they could get, and much like everything else, they're always in the same spot, so our runners here can always get them within 3.
Yeah, we don't really care about the other 2 patients. We just want to move on with the run.
The other doctors can handle it. You got important stuff to do. We'll be about halfway through the bomb here. Looks like he took a hit there. Slurpee's probably gonna take it a little safer here. His 2 hits will make the bomb blow up. Another thing to note here is if you hit one of the red tiles, it puts one of them out of sync, so it makes it even more treacherous at that point. Ooh, looks like Slurpee.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, the bomb went off, so we're gonna have to try this again. The patient's life is in your hands, or the bomb in that case.
Should we mention how the game says the medical board will be notified when you die to the bomb? As if they wouldn't hear it otherwise?
I don't think it actually says it that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just blows up.
There is no more medical board in that case. Alright, so Iris is wrapping up the last of the Tatardi strains. The third one kind of goes berserk after you inject it with the sedative. And you don't really see it do that again until much later in the game, once you get to Chapter 6. And so the gimmick with Tatardi is that you're going to have a bunch of different colored vials, and they all will match a different strain of Tatardi. And basically all you're doing is just injecting the right color to the right Tatardi. And you have to do it, I believe, 5 times, 5 or 6, I don't remember. This
I think it's 5 for this, and then 6 on Chapter 5 and 7 on Chapter 6.
Yeah, these operations are actually kind of unique as far as other operations go with going to get max rank. Typically, you need to get a high enough chain to get max rank, and if you miss once, that's usually the end of it for your max rank run. But you can miss several times on Tardy and still be okay with it.
Actually, only on chapter 6.
Only on
For
chapter
chapters
6?
4. Yeah, chapters 4 and 5 you have to go through no miss.
Huh.
It's hell.
And it looks like Slurpee got through the bomb here, so everybody is safe once again. Is that also the case for the X rank to Tardy? Can you miss on that one too?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
My guess is that the testers could not clear it without missing, so they probably thought, okay, maybe we need to adjust this.
And Iris handily dispatches the Tardy. So the next couple operations here in Chapter 4, I did mention earlier that this is kind of the chiller one. It's going to be a lot of research and a lot of exploratory surgery for this new form of guilt, Empty, which once we actually get to it a couple operations from now, when done correctly, it's essentially an auto-scroller. There, but is it this one or the next one that's the puzzles? I think it's the one.
It's the next one.
Yeah, okay. It's kind of interesting with and with this strain of guilt, though. Each of the exploratory operations introduces one of the mechanics, or at least part of it, before they go through the whole thing. So it's another set of training operations, so to speak. Like this guy that's on the screen right now on Iris's screen is Victor. He's the know-it-all of Caduceus. He's the one that comes up with all the treatments and research. And he's essentially just telling you to just try random stuff and hope that it works and does something. And then after injecting the yellow, oh no, it makes the goop beat like a heart. That's not good, apparently. So gotta keep injecting different forms of goop until he's happy. Alright, so Iris is done there with Thurler not too far behind. Now we come to the part where this becomes a tool-assisted run, because our runners are probably looking at notes. Notes are tools.
Yeah, for this first one, you don't really have to, because it's really simple.
Yeah,
but for 4.8, actually 4.9, it's kind of tough.
What do you think, Chad? Is using notes tool-assisted? maybe chat's not the best to ask here in this situation. But yeah, you're just doing a puzzle here with different chemical compounds, I guess. As to
if you ever wonder how medical research is done, this is a sneak peek of that.
Yes. All right, Slurpee is on his way to the Doritos cake. And everybody draws their stars differently, and it's just when people start drawing their stars, I just like, how's that gonna work? It's like, oh, there's a star right there. And some people, like Trojan Rabbit, who's the guy who ran Under the Knife 2 at AGDQ this year, he draws butterflies for the star. So, but yeah, Trauma Center's been featured at I think 3 GDQs at this point. Iris Joker ran Second Opinion. I forget which SGDQ it was, but it was a while ago.
I think it was AGDQ. 2016 or 17? One
Yeah,
of those.
somewhere around there. Slurpee and Iris did a co-op run of Trauma Center New Blood, which is the second game on the Wii. And Trojan Rabbit did did Under the Knife 2 at this most recent AGDQ. And the funny thing about the DS games is that runners use 2 styluses as instead of 1, which sounds kind of difficult, but it actually makes some things simpler with just tool selection and just suturing.
Yeah, because the DS can only recognize one touch point, it's not a capacitive screen, you can do some really weird stuff with 2 styluses. Like teleporting things around the screen.
Yeah. If you want to see something phenomenal, though, with this game, like our runners here are really good at the game, but there are some TASs out there for Trauma Center Second Opinion and New Blood, and I think Under the Knife even has a couple of them too. Or at least for individual levels. Those are all worth a watch. Bunch out there. Slurpee on way here to the car crash operation.
How did Iris not get the max rank on Fortnite?
I think it's based on time. Alright, so we've had 4 operations of exploratory surgery and puzzle solving. Now it's time for the real Pempty. So this is essentially a minion rush. The core of Pempty is going to be summoning these, I don't even know what to call them.
I call them tumors.
Yeah, some strange kind of tumors that swim around and cause smaller tumors and lacerations and just lower vitals. So Pempty is just all about making sure you don't fall behind. If you end up falling behind, you get one chance to save yourself with a healing touch and to stabilize, which is obviously slow, but you'd rather not have to redo the whole operation at that point. Oh, a mechanic I forgot to bring up much earlier in the run is if you use the same tool over and over again, and it'll wear down and you'll be locked out of using it for a while. In Pempty, you get a special super laser which never wears off. And the story reason for it is that the Pempty is shielding the lungs from taking damage from the extended laser. So if you're fortunate enough, you can make Pempty, once you kill it, you can make it go away without the explosion going off. I don't know. Oh, it looks like Iris. Nope.
No, it's very precise. I'm pretty sure you need to kill one of the minions in the exact same frame that you killed the core.
Oh, okay.
But it's still untested. I still have to test that. Right now it's just a gift from the heavens. You save, I think, 8 seconds if you get it.
Yeah. Alright, so this is the end of Chapter 4. Chapter 5 is when the game starts kicking it into overdrive. And the first operation in Chapter 5, you have to... oh wait, there's the transplant first. I almost forgot about this one. This operation, thankfully, uses Naomi. Your maximum vitals are like 50 or something. And when you cut open a vein to do the transplant, it like lowers the vitals by 30. So her healing touch is going to be instrumental for this here. And then you have these tumors back again. So this is just a race against time. And basically, you don't want the healing touch to wear out by the time you're done with this transplant. Otherwise, you might lose all your vitals by that point. And you can see what Thurler did there is that try to do as much as he could before needing to use the healing touch. And that just guarantees that you'll be able to get through it. Iris getting through the transplant operation with plenty of healing touch time to spare. And same with Thurler here.
Sometimes the game takes way longer to exit the patient's body when you're done. I have no idea why.
I think the reason for that is that the vascular constrictor has to wear off before or you can leave. If I recall what the dialogue was there.
That is the story explanation, but it just doesn't feel right because you do the exact same inputs all the time. And it can save as much as 7 seconds if my splits are to be trusted.
Yeah, the first operation in Chapter 5, this is a guilt rush. It's 5 patients with Kyriaki back to back to back. As far as casually, you can, if you save 3 patients before you run out of time, then it's a success. But obviously in a speed run, you want to take care of them all before the time runs out. So,
yeah, this is also one of the only operations where they give you 10 minutes instead of 5.
Mm-hmm. So our runners are going to be going through these really quickly here. Just keeping the vitals up just enough to get what you want. And just to make matters a little bit worse, the patterns for each of the Kyriaki are slightly different on each patient. You can see now that they're introducing 3 at a time. And I believe by the 4th or 5th one that they start introducing a smaller Kyriaki with the mother.
It's the 3rd one.
Yeah. Iris playing it fast and loose here, but manages to survive with 4 vitals. And doesn't kill the patient with the bandage, so...
Yeah, that is the hardest part. Suturing is also a really hard part.
Yeah, Sky, if you have anything to pitch here, now's kind of a good time too. It's going to be a lot more Kyriaki.
All right, so as a reminder, again, GDQ Hotfix is possible because of viewers such as yourself. If you do have Amazon Prime, consider subbing to the stream. It does help out GDQ Hotfix. And also, we do have Frame Fatale's schedule coming out tomorrow, July 24th. Very excited about that. We have GDQX's game list releasing July 28th, and the Kusar Grande Invitational Losers semifinals are going to be tomorrow at 8 p.m. here on Hotfix. So thank you and keep watching.
Alright, I've lost count on where Iris and Thurler are at this point. I think they're on the 4th one.
I'm on the 3rd. I think Iris is on 4th. I think he's he's ahead of me. So 4th.
Is this the first multi-patient surgery in this one? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I believe
Yes.
so. Unless, well, I guess in the Def Terra one, you kind of do 2 operations. It's just on the same person. I want to argue technically correct on that one.
She asked multi-patient, yeah?
Alright. Iris down to the last one.
Yeah, Iris has been cutting it close in some spots.
Oh, that's just the thing with this game, is the more that you run it, the more you understand what your limits are, and that you can just go for increasingly riskier plays.
Yeah, each laceration does exactly 8 damage, so if you know what you're doing, you can end with 0 vitals, and it's fine.
Man, that's really the beauty about this game, is just how fast you can go is just entirely limited by your own physical ability. So you'll have to, as you get faster, you can start implementing more difficult strats, or you can take the necessary precautions that you need on a given one. Like for the longest time, the record in second opinion was held by a Japanese runner, SESK. He's basically the original god of this game. He submitted a run to Speed Demo's archive back in the day, and that was the one that stood for the longest time until I believe Iris beat it, and then Thurler took that later.
Yeah, I think Iris took it. I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's definitely Iris, because SCSK is third on the leaderboard.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of the strategies that were developed for this game were on the back of his run. And even back at that time, he did a max rank run, which just seemed untouchable for the longest time until Thriller came along, but that was still many years later.
Yeah, I think it was over 10 years.
Yeah. So, Chapter 5 is kind of the refight chapter, or for the first half of it at least. A couple new forms of guilt will be coming soon. But you saw Iris and Thurler dispatch of Tridy again, and then now they're doing Tardy once again. And Slurpee going on to the hardest puzzle in the game. Not only can you beat Trauma Center with your toes, you can also do it with a bowling ball. So at AGDQ this year, I brought this I guess bowling ball shell for the Nintendo Wii, and we played Trauma Center with it. And it's an experience to control it using a bowling ball.
Yeah, it works with pretty much any Wii accessory that leaves the little camera function for the sensor bar exposed. So if you have a Wii Zapper, that also works, and it's also a great experience.
Especially with the Defibrillator.
Yeah.
Really, the hard part about the bowling ball wasn't necessarily the ball itself, but it was trying to use the nunchuck at the same time. Alright, I
I'm
believe...
gonna...
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
believe we're on the
F6 is...
Periskevi here.
Yeah.
I've been seeing the chat mention Periskevi a few times. And this is basically a giant snake that's inside the patient. So what you have to do is zap the tail to stun it, and that will split them in half. And they'll make lacerations when you do that. And they'll get smaller and smaller up until the point where you can finally extract them. The other gimmick that they have is you'll see their tail start shaking when they're about to burrow. And when they burrow, they'll end up in a different part of or different organ in the patient after you clear up the rest of the Periskevi. But if they get to the heart and burrow into the heart, then it's an automatic loss. The patient is dead.
What determines where they burrow?
It depends on the operation.
It's pretty much timer based. So the longer you take to kill them, like when they're not stunned, there's a timer going on. And if it reaches 0, they burrow, pretty much.
Slurpee cutting it close on Pempty, but manages to dispatch of it. Yeah, I saw Iris and Thurler both using Healing Touch on the second half of Periskevi. Is that just for safety's sake there, Thurler?
Kind of. Like, if you use Healing Touch, you add a lot of lag. If you play optimally, it's faster because you don't waste your time chasing the Periskevi with the laser. But if you're a robot, it's faster to not use the Healing Touch. But for human capabilities, it's better to use the Healing Touch, especially because you need to raise vitals. So you need to do a bunch of things. And lasering Periskevi is annoying with their hitboxes. But that's only for hard. On normal, you don't take enough damage to have to raise vitals. So that is a hard exclusive strat.
So we're down to the final form of guilt, or at least a baby version of it. And so Savato is the last one. This is I mentioned before, this is the baby version of it. At least I think it is. Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah, there they are. So spiders essentially crawling out of
the patient's lung.
Out of the lungs. It looks like Iris is trying to prevent the formation. Yeah, both the runners are trying to prevent the formation of a larger Savato by using the Healing Touch there. And if that happens, you lose a bunch of time. You'll see what they look like in Naomi's chapter there, because she wants to, or rather her employer wants to save them.
Yeah, I should note that those waves of Savato show up on a timer, but thankfully if you use the Healing Touch, that timer is unaffected, it's not slowed down. So you can safely use the Healing Touch and dispatch all the spiders before they're in any trouble. If you couldn't be able to use the Healing Touch there, it would be extremely hard to not get one of the evolved Savato things.
So we're getting some cool final boss music here, or at least one of the different boss musics. So this is the only glitch that is used in the run. With these when you have the Healing Touch star appear, it will for a short frame amount use whatever item that you have equipped. In this case, is the scalpel, and this allows our runners to cut multiple webs at the same time. And you can see that they're placing their scalpel in places where they intersect, so they can cut them both at the same time easily. And Savato is pretty heavy on the RNG. This is where there could be a lead change here depending on how it goes. Savato can just keep attacking non-stop, and there isn't a whole lot you can do about it. What they're gonna try and do is laser down the Savato, so the shield will be removed, so they can cut it with the scalpel. Interestingly, though, when you see the OK, meaning that you damaged part of the shield, it's still regenerating. So if you're quick enough and have enough laser to do it, you can quickly get 2 shield hits in there. But you also have to just manage how much your laser's charged up, dealing with the baby Savatos that it's spawning, or the lacerations that it's making. I mean, there's just a lot to juggle in this operation here.
And of course, I get the worst pattern possible, where it just keeps attacking relentlessly and I can't damage it.
Now, another thing to note about the Savato operation is that you do not want to use the healing touch during the fight. This is something that the game is not clear about, but you have to use the healing touch at the very end of the fight. And if you use it earlier, you cannot win. And then you have to restart the operation. Iris is on the 3rd phase of Savato. Thriller trying to keep up, but Savato's just being relentless. Yeah, in this first fight with Savato, you have to clean up any lacerations that are left over. And in the second one, you don't need to do that. Because there's I'm assuming it's because there's 2 doctors, but we'll get there when we get there.
Oh no, I forgot. Okay, so I forgot there that when you deal the last hit of damage, Savato absorbs all the babies around. It doesn't really matter, but you can lose a lot of time because the babies grow very slowly.
So Iris has dispatched of Savato, and this is the hard part, where you have to draw a star. If you don't draw a star in time, Savato's just gonna kill your vitals, kill your patient, and then you gotta do that long operation all over again. Or, if you're doing attempts, it's just a reset at that point.
Always nice to have RNG at the 1 hour and a lot mark of the run.
And this isn't even the worst part of it yet, RNG-wise.
Yeah!
We're just warming up. You thought Defterra and Savato were bad, well, they're gonna be back. So now they're moving into Naomi's last exclusive operation. This is where you learn about the origins of Savato.
Why does
Oh, go ahead.
Why does Naomi have only, I want to say, 4 operations in this entire game?
She has 5, but it's kind of just there on the side to provide backstory, and you can see where they line up with the other operations, but it's basically just when the events are happening in correspondence with Derek's events.
She actually has, I believe, 7 operations total. Because on the 6th floor, you operate as Naomi, and on the final operation, you use both doctors.
So they don't want you to kill the the baby Savatos here. They're a bit treacherous in the real Savato fight because they lower the maximum vitals while they're out there. And the guy yells at you when you kill off one of the baby Savato, but you only need one of them to be alive to move on.
We leave 2 of them alive until the very end of the operation because it's hard to inject the medication on them when they're moving. So if you leave only 1 alive and it's moving, it can move around for several seconds before it finally decides to stop. So we leave 2 of them alive to increase the odds that at least 1 of them will be standing still.
So Chapter 6 is an exclusive chapter to Second Opinion. The final chapter in Under the Knife is kind of glossed over in this story part here, and then just moves on to this. Caduceus Europe has some guilt patients still after they took care of it elsewhere, but they were looking to use guilt to help treat diseases, and surprise, it backfired. But this is where you're gonna see different versions of the guilt fights from before. This is the harder to tardy fight. So you'll see them move faster and then leave a trail of a color instead of showing what color they are on their bodies. This makes them pretty hard to track down, and they keep moving also when you've injected them with the sedative. And depending on how they overlap, it can be pretty difficult sometimes to see what color you need to inject with what.
Yeah, especially if you're colorblind. We didn't really think about the colors that much, so...
Yeah.
Or if you're playing on black and white for some reason.
And to answer the question in the chat, the X operations aren't done in any percent. And we just, the end of chapter 6 is the end of the run. There's
we
all
do have-
operations which does all the X operations.
And we actually do them as both doctors. So Naomi gets another 7 operations.
So 6-4 here is, we're getting into some real difficult territory now. Derek got infected, so Naomi has to operate on him. And he's infected with 2 forms of guilt at the same time. It's Kyriaki and Paraskevi. And if you'll notice, they're already on the heart. So if the Paraskevi, dive in, then and Derek will die. So you really need to keep an eye out for that. And Naomi's healing touch is very useful here, even if it generates a lot of lag. Iris is on the second half of this fight. Before, the Paraskevi were the smaller ones where you could just zap them and then pick them up, but they have a 2-tiered one here. There's just a lot to manage in this fight. Or operation fight, whatever it is. It's basically a fight.
So what's often really hard on this operation is finding the 5 Kyriaki on the first wave, because the ultrasound isn't very precise about showing you where they are. They just show a light shadow. And because Kyriaki is blue and the heart is pink and there's a bunch of lacerations and lag, it can be pretty hard to detect where they are.
Alright, if I recall, this one is Pempty again.
Yeah, and for some reason they made it easier.
Yeah. In the cutscene, the blood on the screen was the guilt going airborne, so now the blood's really hitting the fan.
Oh no. Oh no.
Checking in on Slurpee here. He's on the Paraskevy operation. Paraskevy will make a triumphant return in its final form here before long. It's kind of nice that they have this Pempty operation right here because it gives you a little bit of rest before the two hardest operations in the game.
Yeah. Although it's not much of a rest because you need to hold A, so your thumb is constantly doing something.
Yeah, that's true. But you can see that on Slurpee's screen, the Paraskevy did burrow, and this is what happens in that case. They move to the stomach, and then I think they
I think it's liver and then stomach.
liver,
I might be
stomach,
wrong.
and I think lungs, and then eventually the heart.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty generous with how many times the Paraskevy can burrow. But if you want to get max rank, you really don't want them to burrow that many times.
It actually doesn't make that much of a difference. You just lose time, pretty much.
Oh, okay. I thought there was you had to prevent them from burrowing so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, Pempty is dealt with, and now we're on to... You know, I would call this one the hardest operation in the game. In
Yeah, by
6-7.
far.
So you have to do... This is another guilt rush. It's 4 different forms of guilt. It's Trity, then Kyriaki, then Defterra, and then Paraskevy. Now you have both Derek and Naomi for this one. Derek does Trity and Defterra, and Naomi does Kyriaki and Paraskevy. And this is kind of devious what they did here with Derek, because Trity you're probably going to use the healing touch on because a lot of people just didn't figure out how to do it casually. But then they shackle him with Defterra later on, which is the RNG mess. And so you won't have a safety net for Defterra if you use the healing touch on Trity. It looks like both the runners are opting to healing touch here, and it's faster to do it this way. But
Yeah, dealing with Trity is way better than having to deal with Defterra.
so the first two operations are pretty straightforward. By now you can do Kyriaki in your sleep.
Yeah, after 5-2, it's pretty much muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, both runners only separated by a handful of seconds between Iris and Thurler here.
Who's ahead? I can't tell because I'm watching Iris with delay.
I believe Iris is, but it's not. Oh,
I'm not sure what's happening with Iris.
nah,
there.
me neither.
Oh no,
It is.
Iris was ahead.
Did the batteries
I
go?
jinxed it. I'm sorry.
It may have been a battery change, yeah. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, when the battery goes low on this game, you lose a lot of precision with the Wiimote. So I actually swapped my batteries when I was entering Chapter 5. You get a little bit of downtime there. But yeah. Sometimes it just dies when you least want it to.
Now, how many batteries do you keep on hold for this run, Thurler?
Well, I have 2 rechargeable pairs and 1 alkaline pair that has never been used. So I'm more than ready.
Oh yeah, to make matters worse on this Defterra one, they made it even harder by making blood pools randomly spawn. So, that just adds more things that can lower your vitals.
Yeah, the worst part about the blood pool is that it actually prevents you from cutting Defterra. So if they're going berserk and the blood pool spawns exactly on top of them, you cannot cut them until you deal with the blood pool. Which is incredibly evil.
Thurler manages to stabilize his in time. This Defterra here is really the make or break point of the run.
Yeah, I got pretty good luck there as well.
Yeah, Savato can also be the run decider, but this one decides more runs than anything else, I would say.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Iris, and he said one of the most difficult components of the run is it takes a toll on your wrist after a while as well.
Yeah.
When I used to actively run this game, I would only do 2 runs a week. And if I got past chapter 2, then that was going to be the run. I was accepting whatever I got.
Yeah, I pretty much do no resets runs. Unless I die too, like the bomb. The bomb is the final.
So this is a large Paraskevy, except it starts on the heart, so you can't let any of them burrow. And they're mean here again because they give you Naomi here, so you can't slow down time with it.
Yeah.
And with Derek's healing touch, the way they designed this operation and was just very deliberate in how they designed the difficulty here. Six, 7 down for Thurler, and Iris is not too far behind.
Wow.
And now we're on to the final operation, which is another Savato. This is a harder one, but it also has the best song in the game, in my opinion.
Oh. The best one.
And if you weren't getting Persona vibes from the soundtrack yet, you are now. So the strategy for this Savato here is more or less the same. Some things are going to be a little bit more difficult. The webs in particular take longer to cut. There's more of them.
Yeah. The biggest difference is that Savato takes more laser to kill, so you might run out of laser way faster when trying to damage it.
And depending on
it's
when
only
you run out of
aggravated
laser,
by-
that can be very bad.
Yeah, especially when it's attacking relentlessly and you just can't keep up.
Also, it's on fire.
Yeah, pretty much. Right, here we go.
Oh, another thing with the webs, that if you don't cut one in time, you see that they start turning red, and they just do heavy damage to the vitals when that happens.
Should also note that for this operation, Derek's operating on the top part of the heart and Naomi on the bottom. So you don't have to clean up, and you just have to damage Savato enough to exchange phases.
Now, can you use the healing touch on the bottom half of the heart and still?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So that's Derek still has to save his for the final hit, but you have that reprieve if you're falling behind in the fight.
When is time for this run called?
After the epilogue, like when the skip fades, when skipping the epilogue, There's like a minute, a solid minute between killing the final boss and that, so there's plenty of heads up.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Just let me know when time comes then, just so I can make sure I got good times for y'all.
Mm-hmm. Can I just mention that Iris is already on the bottom half and I'm still suffering here?
Yeah, that's Savato, all right. You can also see Iris is using Naomi's healing touch here to stabilize here. Also, I don't know how you're paying attention to playing your game and also watching Iris and everybody else.
Like, it's pretty much on my peripheral vision, and I just kind of saw Naomi at the bottom, and I was like, okay, he's in the second phase.
I know when I did runs of this game, I could only look at chat in between the cutscenes. Means or if it was like empty or something.
You get used to it. I think my laser was down as well.
Savato is giving you both the business now.
Yeah.
And now you've retaken the lead here. That's just how this goes sometimes.
What a match. And my laser's out. I actually have to kill the small things here because Savato absorbs them all when you deal the last point of damage.
Iris going on to the final phase here. This one's coming down to the wire here. Nobody is safe until that star is drawn.
I would say until the bandage is done, but
I guess
yeah.
there's that too. Interestingly, if you're getting max rank on this operation, you have to farm lacerations while healing touches up, just to get your chain high enough.
Yeah.
What is it, like 250 chain?
I think it's 200, but the chain isn't the biggest issue. You actually need points. So you need to grind lacerations beyond your chain because your score won't be high enough until you get enough cools with lacerations. I was really scared about my star there because I panicked at the end and clicked the Wiimote.
That looked really really
I was
scary.
very nervous.
Ooh. Iris doing 2 stars there. That was looking like panic stars there for a second. Alright,
time's
so
coming up soon for me.
Thriller is going to be our winner of this race here. It's not time yet. We still have to get through the epilogue, but that'll be coming soon.
It's
here.
when the skip at the bottom right fades.
It'll be on the next screen, I think. Yeah, it's on this screen when it fades out.
Okay.
And oh wait, no,
Time.
it's the next one.
Oh, sorry, I'm on no delay. Sorry.
Yeah. And time.
All right, I got a 1:27:12 for you.
That's a
Yeah,
pretty
that's
good
pretty good.
time.
All right, we're gonna get time on Iris in a second.
And time.
And a 1:27:28 for Irish Joker. What a race!
16-second
that was
difference.
really close.
Good. We still got more Trauma Center here. We got Slurpee here to cheer on. He unfortunately had some technical issues earlier. Aaron had to wrestle with the bomb a few times, but this game can be pretty rough, no matter at what skill level you're at.
I just want to point out that the credits blur the background, and the only thing that isn't blurred is the air conditioner.
Thanks for that. Now I'll never be able to unsee it. Or I guess the top part of the bookcase too.
I do want to remind you all too to please follow these runners and commentators. You can see all of them here on the screen. They all deserve a follow, and they're awesome speedrunners.
It looked like there was a wound hiding behind Angie. That can sometimes happen under certain angles.
Yeah, it's really rare on Second Opinion, but on New Blood it happens all the time.
You have a little more control over the camera in that game, so that's probably why. Do we want to get Iris in here to discuss?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Hello?
Hello,
Hey.
GG, Iris. How are you doing?
Oh, my wrists! Help!
Yeah, I know that feel.
We were talking
So-
about that.
So
Yeah.
what happened earlier?
My batteries died during karaoke. I was a little upset. Let's just put it that way.
Thankfully, you
That
could
was,
pause
that was
because
probably
when
that
my
looked like
batteries
that was
died.
the difference too.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I've been using these batteries for like 4 months, so you know. And it's just weirdly weird that they just decided to die at the end of the run.
yeah. Thankfully, you could pause when my batteries go out. They refuse to power the Wiimote on, so
Oh,
keep getting damage, and it's pretty much a rush to replace the batteries before the patient dies.
Yeah. I had like batteries like right next to me, so it wasn't too difficult to swap them out.
Yeah.
Still, wait, wasn't it you that mentioned something about batteries dying before the run started?
Yes, I
Yeah.
I totally like. I was like, of course, I'm the one who has their batteries die after telling
Yeah.
everyone to check them.
Yeah, oh boy. That's well, isn't that just karma?
Yeah.
And so, Slurpee on the Pempty here. Got 2 more operations after this one.
Incidentally, this version of Pempty is actually easier than the first time you go up against it.
Yeah, you
And-
can pretty much always kill the 5 blue cores before they deal damage.
Yeah, they for some reason have a little bit less health than the ones in Chapter 4.
So, other than the Discord as a place to start, what would you recommend to someone who wanted to start running this game? Obviously, going to the Discord and getting some great resources there would be awesome. Also, having batteries ready to go during a run is a good way to go. Maybe a strong arm for your strong arm, strong wrist. But what do you recommend for someone who wants to get started here?
Check out speedrun.com, and there are plenty of runs there. If you just search Trauma Center, you can also just go on YouTube and search the Games Done Quick channel, and there should be runs of Trauma Center there as well with more commentary. So if you want to have like a good overview on like all the different game mechanics, and then you can watch Thurler, me, Slurpee, SCSK. They're all kinds of they're all different runners. Alta Biscuit as well. Different runners who have good times on this game.
Yeah, we don't really have a tutorial for this game, but we're more than happy to answer questions on Discord. It also helps that the speedrun isn't that different from casual play. You just go faster.
And use
Pretty
Healing
much.
Touch more often in
Yeah,
some points
yeah.
too, yeah. But yeah, I do have a couple tutorial videos up. I still need to do Paraskevi and Savato, but there's like Kyriaki. I don't think I've done Treaty yet either, but there's like 1 or 2 there.
It basically just comes down to practicing these, and also don't strain your wrists over the game. Just
Yeah.
take regular
Yeah.
breaks.
Stretch
when you first
during
start
the
out-
run, that's very important.
Yes, I was stretching multiple times, getting up throughout the run. But this game, when I first started, this game took me like 4 hours to beat as a speed run. It was a while
Yeah.
before I got it down to like 2 hours.
Now, Slurpee on his way to the hardest operation.
But yeah, as far as getting started goes, just replaying the game with the mentality of going fast will get you really far.
Yeah. That was also the other thing. Back when I started, I think the only like really competitive runner was like SCSK, and I just watched his videos just ad nauseum over and over again, like really like watching every slight detail, like when he sutured, where he sutured, when he used the syringe and whatnot.
Funny how your in-game time was smaller than mine, even though my real time was faster. I don't think we've touched on this topic when commentating.
No. No, I don't think
because Healing Touch slows down in-game time, and because in-game time is so unreliable, sometimes you get some funny results with that.
Yeah.
So that's why we use real time.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's another good point in the chat. The second opinion especially is extremely cheap on the secondhand market. It's like under $10, even under $5 in some cases.
Generally, yeah. For casual play, if you want to get it officially, I think the only way this is actually officially still available is Trauma Team on the Wii U, for all 6 of us that own a Wii U.
Yeah. Oh, also, I just noticed that Slurpee is playing on English. As far as language differences go, it's only, I think, 40 seconds faster to run on Japanese.
Yeah.
So
It's like 30 to 40
you're
seconds.
not missing out. The only thing you're missing out is Angie screaming "Sensei" at you.
Yeah, which is honestly the real benefit of doing this run.
Yeah, I play on mute. I don't know about you.
Pogo. I guess that's under the knife too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Trojan.
Yeah, Under the Knife 2 is, in my opinion, the most, well, both Under the Knife games are pretty difficult, but they're definitely fun games as well to pick up and try.
Mm-hmm.
And Trojan is like more than happy to help out anyone who wants to try out the DS games. He helped me out a lot, like walking me through each and every operation and telling me like what to do and how to play safe, how to play more aggressively. Again, we're all really helpful and want to help out anyone who wants to try and pick up these games.
Yeah. Speaking of helping out, Defibrillator is being a big jerk right now.
Oh yeah, but that's Defibrillator for you. Defibrillator is just doing Defibrillator things.
Ooh, that blood pool was really tried to ruin that one.
Yeah.
If it showed up a few seconds earlier, it would have been really bad.
Yeah, there are times when I've had a good pace, and then I get to Defibrillator on this op, and you'll do the last part where you use the drain, and just as you're about to use the scalpel, a blood pool will appear over the dots, and you can't cut it, so you have to switch back to the drain, get rid of the blood pool, and then try and extract Defibrillator.
Meanwhile, you're just losing vitals like crazy.
Exactly, yeah.
And Savato was giving you guys the business too, like.
Oh.
Hey,
I would really like to know what a good Savato looks like, because I never see it.
I've only seen it once.
I had a good Defibrillator in chapter 3. Chapter 3. And then I think chapter 6 was average. I could have gone for a double extraction, but my vitals were at like 70-ish, so I didn't want to risk that.
Yeah. Slurpee tried to do a double on chapter 3 and died, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's very risky to do it on hard, but on normal, just go for it.
Yeah.
Now Slurpee's on Paraskevi. This part is the most dangerous part of this operation because if any of these burrow, he has to start over. You start right on the
starting over means going back to the first of the 4 operations.
Right. And it's brutal because you're already tired from playing this game for so long, on top of doing Kyriaki, Treaty. Well, Treaty's like drawing a star and using the forceps over and over again, but Defterra as well. And then you have to do Paraskevi on top of that. This really does a number on your wrists. But yeah, I can definitely tell, like, Slurpy's wrists are shaking just by how he's suturing and how much the cursor is moving.
Oh yeah, that's a familiar feel.
Yeah.
I mentioned it earlier, but it's just mean the order that they put the operations on 6-7.
Yeah.
You don't get the healing touch you want on the operations you want them on.
Did we go over the differences in difficulty?
Yeah, here and there.
Okay.
They're mostly that you just is to take more damage, or in the case of the bomb, the cycles are faster.
Yeah. The syringe also restores less health on hard and normal. Like, one syringe injection on easy restores like 40 vitals or something. It's something ridiculous.
Yeah, on normal and hard, they restore 12.
Right, here comes Savato. So Thurler, for this second pattern here, can you deal with the fifth web on hard?
No.
Okay,
No.
so it's only a normal.
You take for the sixth one to spawn. Yeah, there are two patterns here you can get on the bottom. One with 4 webs and one with... because we use the glitch to deal with 2 of them at the same time. If you get an odd number, like 5, you actually need to do a third cut. And because of how long it takes, Savato spawns a 6th one, so it's better for you to wait for the 6th one. You can kill the 5th and 6th ones together, having to do 5 and then 6 alone.
Yeah.
Oh, Slurpy getting some tough luck here with the webs.
Yeah. Also, you may have noticed that the webs were slowly changing color to red. Every time they successfully change to red, the patient loses about 20 to 30 vitals.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had a 125 pace run on normal ruined by Savato.
Yeah, Savato will do that.
Getting like the worst one I've ever seen. It took me like 7 minutes in game time to deal with it.
Ugh.
Damn.
Yeah, so Savato has 2 cues for when it's about to do an attack. The first is that if you have Vibrate on, when you're using the laser on Savato, once it stops vibrating, that means it's going to do an attack. Also, right below Savato, there'll be like little veins that will pulsate below it, and once it just pauses and starts pulsating, that's also when it's about to do an attack. So you should stop momentarily and just prep the laser for zapping the spiders, or just gel a little bit to restore what little vitals you can, if you're good at tool switching.
Yeah, that's another thing. Tool switching can be tricky at times because the nunchuck, even though it has like the little
Notches?
like the whole, yeah, the notches. Like, even though you have that, sometimes you click the wrong tool, especially when you're switching too fast. So knowing exactly what you need when you need it is very important.
Especially for this op. The amount of times I've gone from gel to sutures, or at least I've tried to, but end up with syringe, is countless.
Yeah.
Even after running this game for like 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, you can even see that in action here, that Slurpy was draining Savato instead of lasering, and drains like right next to a laser.
Yeah, this Savato is definitely a juggling act, because you have to be careful with how you manage the laser, and you also have to keep an eye on the vitals, so you have to balance being aggressive and sort of it's kind of weird to say defensive during a surgery, but Slurpee using the drain strats. But yeah, also trying to keep the vitals above 30 for the final part.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Like, if the vitals are the final Savato attack deals exactly 30 damage.
It
unless
reduces
you're above
vitals to 30. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're below 30, it deals exactly 30. So
Yeah, and you
are
just die.
Yeah, you can boost vitals, but it takes a lot of awareness to realize that.
Yeah, for the second Savato with Naomi, it's a good idea to just use her healing touch after you get a couple hits on Savato, so it'll more or less automatically boost them to 99, just from suturing all the cuts that it's going to do.
Yeah, the game lags, but it's better than spamming the stabilizer.
Right.
That was a pretty good phase 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like a weird sort of glitch you can get with the syringe whenever Savato does a cut with the and releases the small spiders. If you like inject the syringe at the right time, the spiders won't really spread out too much, but it's difficult to do because typically you have the laser or the sutures out. Star.
Down goes the
Yeah.
flaming spider.
Yep.
Or whatever it is. Kind of looks like a stag beetle.
It's kind of funny to watch this on emulator because there's no lag, so Savato just jumps around everywhere really fast, and then it just blows up.
Yeah, the game lags a lot in that cutscene of Savato dying. So time's gonna be coming up soon for Slurpee.
Yep.
All right, got it. We were also talking about the bowling ball earlier, Iris, and your GD. What y'all were doing it. I walk into the practice room and I see Iris with this bowling ball at Trauma Center on the screen, and I'm like, no, that's not a thing.
We're not doing this as a category, but I'm not doing this. Actually, I'm not. Thurler can do that. He can have the world record in bowling ball attempt. that world record's all yours too.
For Slurpee.
Got it. GG.
GG.
All right, so again, let's hear it for all of the runners and commentators. Please follow them all on Twitch and Twitter. You can see everybody's information is displayed here. Here's their Discord. Please join them. I promise you they are all pretty awesome people that are part of the Trauma Center community. Very friendly people. And a few reminders really quickly. Again, with GDQ subs, GDQ Hotfix is possible because of viewers like you and your subs. Remember, if you have Amazon Prime, you also receive a free sub per month with your subscription. Few housekeeping here. We have Frame Fatale. The schedule is releasing July 24th, which is tomorrow. GDQX Games List is on July 28th. And the Kusai Grande Invitational Loser Semifinals tomorrow at 8 p.m. EDT right here on GDQ Hotfix. And also, as an announcement that just got released on Twitter, as part of Disability Awareness Month, we're partnering up with Able Gamers for a special GDQ Hotfix in October. If you have a speedrunner who uses assistive technology or has a disability, please visit us on Twitter at Games Done Quick and fill out that form, and we'll see if we can get y'all featured here on the GDQ Hotfix. And now I believe it is time for us to host somebody. So we're going to be hosting some Super Mario 64 randomizer. And again, thank you to the Trauma Center community. Thank you to GDQ Hotfix. I'm Skybills, and it has been my pleasure to be your host this evening. Please drop a follow to the channel. Consider using that Amazon Prime sub, and we will see you back here tomorrow for that Kuso Grande Invitational Loser Semifinals, 8 p.m. Take care, everybody. Good night.